Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Impact News. I'm Jeb Goldman, in for Nick Sturdivant, who you saw earlier today for a jam-packed morning here on Live Impact News. And unfortunately, we begin this Thanksgiving with somber news. Two National Guardsmen are fighting for their lives in Washington, D.C. after being shot yesterday afternoon. This morning, we heard brand new updates. Let me get you kind of looped in with what we heard. So far, we know that there is a massive country, even worldwide investigation into the suspect who has now been identified as Ramanullah Lakhanwala. He is an Afghani national who has come to this country recently. It does appear that he came in 2021 under the Operations Allies Welcome and was granted asylum in April of this year. He served as an Afghan partner to the CIA. We learned that from FBI Director Kash Patel. Earlier this morning, multiple officials, including attorney Jeanine Pirro, Kash Patel, among others, shared the latest update. We're going to bring that to you right now in full.
All right, Alicia, you know where to go. Where's Blanchard? There he is. Okay, good. You know, it seems like we've been here before. Is this working? Is this on? Where's...
Oh, yeah. They're saying it's on.
It's working? All right. Thank you all for being here on this difficult day. As you know, my name is Jeanine Pirro. I am the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, and I am joined here by several individuals who represent agencies who have been working around the clock since this horrific event happened. To my left, we have the Director of the FBI. We have General Leland Blanchard of the National Guard. Mayor Bowser is here as well. We have Frank Saldana of the DEA, Chris Hecht of DHS, Executive Assistant Chief Jeffrey Carroll of the MPD, Darren Cox of the Washington FBI Field Office, and a Special Agent in Charge, Samuel Ward of the ATF in Washington. Now, I want to provide you with an update on the tragic shooting that occurred on two brave members of the West Virginia National Guard as they served in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, today, as most families join together to give thanks for the blessings that have been bestowed upon them, two families are shattered and destroyed and torn apart as a result of the actions of one man. First and foremost, our hearts go out to the victims and their families. These are dedicated service members who were performing their duties in service to our nation, and they are currently in critical condition. They have undergone surgery. We pray for their well-being as they continue to be cared for in the best possible way. We have been in constant contact with their families and have provided them with every resource needed during this difficult time. The two National Guards men that we're talking about are Sarah Beckstrom, who's 20 years old, and Andrew Wolf, who is 24 years old. They were uniformed members of the West Virginia National Guard, and they were in D.C. to keep D.C. safe, pursuant to President Trump's executive order to make D.C. safe and beautiful. They answered the call. They took the charge. They volunteered. They put their lives on the line for people they don't even know. And that, unfortunately, is becoming a reality more and more for the members of law enforcement. Yesterday on Thanksgiving Eve at approximately 2:15, near 17th and I Streets in the northwest section of the district, near the Farragut West Metro Station, two uniformed guardsmen were ambushed in a brazen and targeted attack. A lone gunman opened fire without provocation, ambush style, armed with a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. One guardsman is struck, goes down, and then the shooter leans over and strikes the guardsman again. Another guardsman is struck several times. Fellow guardsmen who were there responded immediately, engaging the suspect, neutralizing the threat, and subduing him at the scene. He was transported to a local hospital where he remains, as we speak, under heavy guard. Thanks to the swift and coordinated response of the National Guard and the Metropolitan Police Department, no additional victims were harmed, and the scene was secured within minutes. The suspect, he has been identified as Ramanullah Lakhanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan who entered the United States under Biden's Operation Allies Welcome, a program following the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. He resided in Bellingham, Washington, with his wife and, we believe, 5 children. And we're working very closely with our federal partners, especially DHS and the FBI, to review his immigration history and the vetting process itself. What we know about him is that he drove his vehicle across country from the state of Washington with the intended target of coming to our nation's capital. As we stand here today, the charges that are appropriate right now are 3 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed, a violation of D.C. Code 22-401 and D.C. Code 22-4502. He will also be charged with possession of a firearm during a crime of violence. He faces 15 years under the assault with the intent to kill. We intend to continue monitoring what the charges will be, depending upon the well-being of the guardsmen. We are praying that they survive and that the highest charge will not have to be murder in the first degree. But make no mistake, if they do not, that will certainly be the charge, murder in the first degree. The Department of Justice, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, is committed to a thorough and an impartial investigation where we will hold this perpetrator accountable under the full weight of the law. Now, Sarah and Andrew volunteered. They came here to protect the people of the district, pursuant to a crime emergency that President Trump rightly declared in this city and in other cities across the country. Our nation's capital should not and must not be a place where evil comes to commit violence, whatever their cause or motive may be. We should not have to live in fear in the nation's capital, especially by one who came here from a foreign country. And through a process that was so absurd that he came through and released into this country, as many were, knowing virtually nothing about his vetting. This is what happens in this country when people are allowed in who are not properly vetted. These guardsmen and all who are here to protect the district are the line that separates a civilized society from a barbaric one. They are the ones who stand for law and order. This was not just an attack. It was a direct challenge to law and order in our nation's capital. And the individual will be made fully accountable. And though it seems that we have been here before under President Trump, make no mistake, and the Attorney General, we will not allow this to be normalized. It will be confronted, condemned, and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Now, my message to the individual who committed these acts is you picked the wrong target, the wrong city, and the wrong country, and you will be sorry for the violence and the evil that you perpetrated in our nation's capital. And now I call upon the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel.
Thanks, Judge. I'll begin my remarks and end my remarks the same way, with prayer for our fallen soldiers, prayer for our law enforcement community, prayer for our National Guardsmen and women, prayer for our brave prosecutors at the Department of Justice and the offices of the D.C. United States Attorney. We must come together as a nation, especially on this Thanksgiving Day, and remember the sacrifices that so many are making around the world and around this country to secure our freedoms under President Trump's brilliant leadership and administration. I'll provide an update on the case as follows. It is an ongoing investigation of terrorism. Make no mistake about it. The FBI is leading out on this federal assault on a federal law enforcement officer investigation on many fronts. We immediately, with our law enforcement partners in the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, secured the scene, seized the weapon, sent in our evidence response team immediately to collect evidence and started doing block by block canvasses. We are looking for and interviewing witnesses. The firearm and other materials have been sent to our Quantico laboratory already yesterday for immediate analysis. That work is ongoing. Partnering with the DC United States Attorney's Office, we have also executed multiple search warrants around the country to include the subject's last known residence, which is in the state of Washington. The search warrant was executed on that house last night or early this morning, and it is an ongoing process. All the individuals found in the house have been interviewed, and some interviews remain ongoing. We will not stop until we interview anyone and everyone associated with the subject, the house, and every piece of his life. There's also subject interviews, relations conducted in San Diego, pursuant to our ongoing investigation. So, as the judge noted, this is a coast-to-coast investigation being led right here in Washington, D.C. And this subject definitely did pick the wrong country. And we will rise together as a nation to show the world what we do here. And we are thankful that we have the Attorney General's brave leadership and President Trump's brave leadership and priorities to safeguard our communities. I also spoke to Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, last night, and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like. We will provide continuous details to the American public while at the same time not jeopardizing the ongoing prosecution to ultimately hold this perpetrator accountable in our courts of law. We will provide as much transparency as possible, but as you can see, the breadth and scope of this investigation will continue. We will continue to hit the streets and hit every town and every house and talk to every witness. The men and women of the FBI and the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, to include the Department of Homeland Security, DEA, and ATF, are working tirelessly on this Thanksgiving Day. And I know just by talking to the leaders behind me that instead of going on and being with their families, everyone rogered up and showed up to work today. And none of them want to go home. That's the resolve that we have together as a team to bring to you justice for this heinous act of terrorism here in our nation's capital. And as the judge said, we will ensure that our law enforcement partners are out there in full force to make sure the world can enjoy our nation's capital. We will not let this heinous act of violence prevent people from visiting our beautiful nation's capital. And we will also continue to highlight any evidence that we can publicly. And as the judge said, this individual is in this country for one reason and one reason alone, because of the disastrous withdrawal from the Biden administration and the failure to vet in any way, shape, or form, this individual and countless others. And this administration has taken the rightful step to stop any further allowance of people with this similar background into the country. And we're thankful for that. And as I said, this investigation remains ongoing. And I think I'll turn it over to General Blanchard of the National Guard now. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. All across America this morning, families are waking up. They'll spend the day with their children, their brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, friends from across the community. There will be the smell of turkey, all the fixings. They'll watch parades, football games. They'll pray together. They'll talk about what they're grateful for. This morning, there are two families that will not have that opportunity. Andy and Sarah's families, they're spending the day reflecting on the past And in the days coming, they'll reflect on and think about what could have been, what might be. Because regardless of the outcome, we know that their lives, their families' lives are all changed forever. Because one person decided to do this horrific and evil thing. And all across America, we are also reminded that there are many law enforcement agents, first responders, soldiers, service members all around the world who at best will come home, eat some cold turkey, open up Tupperware, eat what's left over, because they spent the day defending the American ideals, getting out there and getting after it on every American citizen's behalf. I will say that the District of Columbia National Guard, this task force, is more committed this morning to the president's directive to make D.C. safe and beautiful. Our resolve will be tested. It is being tested, but make no mistake, each and every one of these soldiers and airmen will meet and exceed the expectation that we have for them. They are, in fact, America's best. I'm proud of each and every one of them. I pray for each and every one of them today, and in particular, for these two young service members who are willing to go above and beyond and pay whatever price our nation asks of them. I ask every American today to keep them in their thoughts and prayers as you go about your day. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Mayor, where's Mayor Bowser? Yeah.
Thank you, Judge. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I want to associate myself with the remarks of our Adjutant General from the D.C. National Guard. I want to be very clear what the judge and everyone has reported here. Somebody drove across the country, came to Washington, D.C. to attack America. And that person will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These young people should be at home in West Virginia with their families.
ATF, anybody? DHS? Anyone? Okay. I also want to say that both Sarah and Andrew, I believe, were sworn in less than 24 hours before they were shot on the street in Washington. Any questions?
Could you drill down on a possible motive? Have you gotten any information and intelligence on a possible motive?
You know, as the directors indicated, this is a fluid investigation. People are working around the clock. It's too soon to say what the motive is, but there are definitely areas that we're looking into, but not ready to say.
Can you characterize a little bit about how the assailant was taken down after he opened fire?
Yeah, he got shot.
By another guard?
By another guardsman, yeah.
And you mentioned earlier that he had the shooter had initially shot one of the guardsmen, then leaned over as they were on the
shot him again.
Shot again.
Yep.
How many shots are we?
Well, the specific number. Look, he had a .357 Smith & Wesson revolver. Okay, so I believe that's a six-shooter. Yeah. So that kind of tells us how many shots he had. Yes.
Judge, you had mentioned we've been here before because we have. It was May when we were last here.
Yeah.
I want to ask if you could please comment to, obviously, we understand that you're saying this is under the Biden administration, and the words are that it was a failed withdrawal. And what happened there. There are people who are also upset with the president believing that the National Guard members should not even have been there if it were not for the executive order.
I don't even want to talk about whether they should have been there. We ought to kiss the ground and thank God that the president said it's time to bring in more law enforcement to make sure that a city that had the fourth highest homicide rate in the country was that violence was quelled. I'm not even going to go there.
A question for Director Patel. Was the suspect granted asylum? And if so, when did that happen? Under which administration? And did authorities miss any signs, either in the asylum process or even back when he reportedly worked for the CIA? If you could talk about that.
Well, you miss all the signs when you do absolutely zero vetting. Then that's exactly what happened in this case. When you, in the prior administration, made the decision to allow thousands of people into this country without doing a single piece of background checking or vetting, that's how you miss every single sign. And Secretary Kristi Noem has put out details specifically related to your other questions, so I'll let that speak for themselves.
Specificity of when he was granted, if or when he was granted asylum, if you could just clarify that timeline. And
Yes, I believe Kristi Noem put that out, and that's a DHS matter, and I'll refer it to them.
Could you elaborate on the investigative steps that were taken in
Sure.
San Diego? You mentioned Bellingham, Washington,
Sure.
where you live, but could you explain the San Diego connection?
So what happened was, thanks to the quick investigation by the interagency and the FBI, we were able to track down his last known residence, working with the United States Attorney's offices here and at the Department of Justice and prosecutors across the country. We were able to serve search warrants literally overnight and through the night.
All night.
And we were able to hit the house in Washington State. During that process, we seized numerous electronic devices to include cell phones, laptops, iPads, and other material that is being analyzed as we speak. Pursuant to that investigation and any known associates of the subject and of that house is how we ended up in San Diego, where interviews were conducted and are going to be continued to be conducted. And we will go anywhere in the country or the world where the evidence leads us.
Are there accomplices, relationships in San Diego you can talk about?
All of that is an ongoing investigation.
Can anyone give an update as far as Sarah and Andrew who were injured? You say critical condition. Can you give anything beyond that? Are they expected to make it? Is it touch and go? Can you tell us a little more about how they're doing?
And the full spelling of their names, please.
It is Sarah Beckstrom, Beckstrom, and Andrew Wolfe with an E, Wolfe. Okay, and Sarah Beckstrom.
How do you spell Sarah?
S with an H. Okay. Now, with respect to their medical condition, as I said, they are receiving the finest medical care. Their families are with them now. They are critical. I think you understand the meaning of that. It's not clear, how this is going to end up. But let me be perfectly clear about how it will end up in this office. If one of them is to pass, and God forbid that happens, this is a murder one. Period. End of the story. We are praying on a day like today when families come together in America and they hold hands around the Thanksgiving table. I beg you, I beseech you to pray for these two young people that they survive. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah.
Gabbard said that
Thank you,
he was a
everybody.
radical Islamist Afghan terrorist.
Yeah, we're not going there.
Do you have
We're not going there.
information on how he might have gotten radical?
No. Thank you.
The decision not to charge him as a terrorist?
what about the asylum process that led him to get asylum?
And in just the last few minutes, we're actually getting new details about the National Guard members who were shot in that attack. The West Virginia National Guard saying this just in the last couple of minutes. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, began her Guard service on June 26th of 2023. She was assigned to the 863rd Military Police Company and the West Virginia National Guard within the same year. And then Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolfe, 24 years old, joined the Guard on February 5th, 2019, and was assigned to the Air Force Squadron 167th Airlift Wing. Beckstrom was from Summersville, West Virginia, and Wolfe was from Martinsburg, West Virginia, and they had been deployed within D.C. since August. That's when their mission began. As of right now, we know that they are still fighting for their lives and sending prayers to them and their families. We'll be back after a quick 2-minute break. Welcome back to Live Impact News. I'm Jeb Goldman, in for Nick Sturdivant. Happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully everyone watching is home with their families, enjoying some well-deserved, well-earned quality time. We're continuing to follow several headlines across the country, across the world today, because even though it's a holiday, the news cycle certainly hasn't stopped. And this morning, we brought it to you earlier. We'll bring it to you again. Pope Leo in Turkey for his first trip abroad since he began his papacy. He spoke in Turkey this morning, and he talked a lot about the future of humanity and saying how nervous he was by the state of conflicts across the world. Obviously, we have the war in Russia and Ukraine, the conflict between Israel and Palestine, lots of very high-profile conflicts kind of as this year wraps up. So the Pope addressing those issues as well as other issues that he found concerning, like the rise of an unreally marshaled growth of artificial intelligence. He covered it all in this speech this morning. We'll bring that to you right now.
Mr. President, distinguished authorities, members of the diplomatic corps, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your kind welcome. I am pleased to begin the apostolic journeys of my pontificate with a visit to your country. For this land is inextricably linked to the origins of Christianity, and today it beckons the children of Abraham and all humanity to a fraternity that recognizes and appreciates differences. The natural beauty of your country urges us to protect God's creation. Moreover, the cultural, artistic, and spiritual richness of the places you inhabit reminds us that when different generations, traditions, and ideas meet, great civilizations are forged in which development and wisdom are drawn together into a unity. On the one hand, it is true that human history has centuries of conflict behind it, and that the world around us is still destabilized by ambitions and choices that trample on justice and peace. At the same time, when faced with challenges, being a people with such a great past is both a gift and a responsibility. The image of the bridge over the Dardanelles Strait, chosen as the logo for my journey, eloquently expresses your country's special role. You have an important place in both the present and future of the Mediterranean and of the whole world, above all, by valuing your internal diversity. Even before linking Asia with Europe, East with West, this bridge connects Turkey to itself. It combines different parts of the country, making it from within, as it were, crossroads of sensibilities. In such a case, uniformity would be an impoverishment. Indeed, a society is alive if it has a plurality, for what makes it a civil society are the bridges that link its people together. Yet today, human communities are increasingly polarized and torn apart by extreme positions that fragment them. I willingly assure you that Christians desire to contribute positively to the unity of your country. They are and feel part of Turkish identity, which was highly esteemed by St. John the 23rd, whom you remember as the Turkish Pope, for the deep friendship that always bound him to your people. He was administrator of the Latin Vicariate of Istanbul and apostolic delegate in Turkey and Greece from 1935 to 1945, and worked tirelessly to ensure that Catholics did not exclude themselves from the ongoing development of your new republic. He wrote during those years that here in this nation, Quote, "We Latin Catholics of Istanbul and Catholics of other rites, Armenian, Greek, Chaldean, Syrian, etc., are a modest minority living on the surface of a vast world with which we have only limited contact. We like to distinguish ourselves from those who do not profess our faith. Our Orthodox brothers, Protestants, Jews, Muslims, believers and non-believers of other religions, it seems logical that everyone should mind their own business, their own family or national traditions, keeping within the limited circle of their own community. My dear brothers and sisters, my dear children, I must tell you that in the light of the gospel and of Catholic principles, this is a false logic." End of quote. Since then, great strides have undoubtedly been made within the Church and in your society, yet those words still resonate strongly in our day and continue to inspire a more evangelical and genuine way of thinking, which Pope Francis called the culture of encounter. Indeed, from the very heart of the Mediterranean, my venerable predecessor opposed the globalization of indifference by inviting us to feel the pain of others and to listen to the cry of the poor and of the earth. He thus encouraged us to compassionate action, which is a reflection of the one God who is merciful and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. The image of your great bridge is also helpful in this sense, for God, in revealing himself, established a bridge between heaven and earth. He did so in order that our hearts might change, becoming like his. It is a vast suspension bridge, almost defying the laws of physics. Likewise, in addition to its intimate and private aspects, love too has a visible and public dimension. Furthermore, justice and mercy challenge the mentality of might is right, and dare to ask that compassion and solidarity be considered as the authentic criteria for development. For this reason, in a society like the one here in Turkey, where religion plays a visible role, it is essential to honor the dignity and freedom of all God's children, both men and women, fellow nationals and foreigners, poor and rich. We are all children of God, and this has personal, social, and political implications. Those with hearts docile to the will of God always promote the common good and respect for all. Today, this is a great challenge, which must reshape local policies and international relations, especially in the face of technological developments that could otherwise exacerbate injustice instead of helping to overcome it. Even artificial intelligence simply reproduces our own preferences and accelerates processes that on closer inspection are not the work of machines, but of humanity itself. Let us work together, therefore, to change the trajectory of development and repair the damage already done to the unity of our human family. Ladies and gentlemen, I just mentioned the human family. This metaphor invites us to establish a connection, once again, a bridge between our common destiny and the experiences of each individual. Indeed, for each one of us, the family was the first nucleus of social life, in which we learned that without the other, there is no I. More so than in other countries, the family retains great importance in Turkish culture, and there is no shortage of initiatives to support its centrality. Indeed, attitudes essential for civil coexistence, plus the initial and fundamental sensitivity to the common good, mature precisely within the family. Of course, every family can also close in on itself, cultivate hostility, or prevent some of its members from expressing themselves to the point of hindering the development of their talents. Nevertheless, people do not obtain greater opportunities or happiness from an individualistic culture, nor by showing contempt for marriage or shunning openness to life. Moreover, consumerist economies are deceptive in that loneliness becomes a business. We should respond to this with a culture that appreciates affection and personal connection. For it is only together that we can become our authentic selves. Only through love does our inner life become profound and our identity strong. Those who scorn fundamental human ties and fail to learn how to bear even their limitations and fragility more easily become intolerant and incapable of interacting with our complex world. At the same time, it is within family life that the value of conjugal love and the contribution of women emerge in a very specific way. Women in particular, through their studies and active participation in professional, cultural, and political life, are increasingly placing themselves at the service of your community and its positive influence on the international scene. We must greatly value, then, the important initiatives in this regard, which support the family and the contribution that women make toward the full flowering of social life. Mr. President, may Turkey be a source of stability and rapprochement between peoples, in service of a just and lasting peace. The visits to Turkey by 4 popes, Paul VI in 1967, John Paul II in 1979, Benedict XVI in 2006, and Francis in 2014, show that the Holy See not only maintains good relations with the Republic of Turkey, but also desires to cooperate in building a better world with the contribution of this country, which is a bridge between East and West, between Asia and Europe, and a crossroads of cultures and religions. The particular occasion of my own visit, the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea, speaks to us of encounter and dialogue, as does the fact that the first 8 ecumenical councils were held in the lands of present-day Turkey. Today, more than ever, we need people who will promote dialogue and practice it with firm will and patient resolve. In the aftermath of the tragedies of 2 world wars, which saw the building of large international organizations, we are now experiencing a phase marked by heightened level of conflict on the global level, fueled by prevailing strategies of economic and military power. This is enabling what Pope Francis called a third world war fought piecemeal. We must in no way give in to this. The future of humanity is at stake. The energies and resources absorbed by this destructive dynamic are being diverted from the real challenges that the human family should instead be facing together today, namely peace, the fight against hunger and poverty, health and education, and the protection of creation. The Holy See, with only its spiritual and moral strength, wishes to cooperate with all nations that have at heart the integral development of each and every person. Let us walk together then, in truth and in friendship, humbly trusting in the help of God. Thank you.
Değerli konuklarımız, özel programımız sona ermiştir. Arz ederiz.
Ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of our special program. Thank you very much.
The first American Pope, Pope Leo speaking earlier today. We'll be right back after a quick 2-minute break. Welcome back to Live Impact News. Your time is about 1:15. Happy Thanksgiving. And thank you so much to everybody tuning in and watching with us. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate being a part of hopefully a new Thanksgiving tradition. Speaking of Thanksgiving celebrations, yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance was at Fort Campbell in Kentucky speaking to military soldiers there. This came mere moments after this very, very scary, tragic situation in Washington, D.C., where 2 National Guardmen were shot. As of right now, 1:15 Thanksgiving afternoon, we do know those National Guardsmen are fighting for their lives. But yesterday, the Vice President in Fort Campbell to speak with military personnel there, speaking about the sacrifices they're making for Thanksgiving and what they give to this country on one of the most, if not the most, American holidays. Let's hear what he had to say.
Thanksgiving with their families instead of losing their lives, because I understand they're still in pretty tough condition. But I think it's a somber reminder that soldiers, whether they're active duty, reserve, or National Guard, our soldiers are the sword and the shield of the United States of America. And as a person who goes into work every single day in that building and knows that there are a lot of people who wear the uniform of the United States Army, let me just say very personally, thank them for what they're doing. We're grateful to them, and we're praying that they're going to be safe and they're going to spend Thanksgiving with their families. God bless them. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the business of the Army and about what you're doing and about why it's important to the United States of America and why we are proud of you, every single one of our soldiers here in Fort Campbell and all across the world. We have got some incredible guests here to honor this moment, to honor you, to say thanks to so many of you for spending time away from your families here this day before Thanksgiving. And I want to give just a few shout outs to some of our special guests before we get started. First of all, to General Travis McIntosh and Command Sergeant Major Charles Walker, thank you guys for leading this incredible facility, and thank you for serving in the United States Army and making us proud. Where are you guys? Please stand up and be recognized. Thank you all. We've got my dear friend Senator Marsha Blackburn. Marsha, please stand up and say hello. And we also have Congressman Rose. Where is Congressman Rose? Please stand up. Thank you, Congressman. It's good to see you. Now, I've got of course, thank my dear friend Bob Ritchie. You better know him as Kid Rock. But I want to say to my staff, I gave them one instruction, and that's that I don't have to follow a literal rock star before I give a speech. And they screwed that up the day before Thanksgiving, so every single one of them are fired. But thank you to Bob Ritchie, Kid Rock, because he's not just a great musician, he's not just a great American, he is a person who loves the soldiers of the United States Army, and we are proud and grateful for Kid Rock for being here today. I want to take another few moments and just say thanks to Major Josh Wilcox, Master Sergeant Aaron Duhacek, Mr. Jim Parks, Major Rob Wright, and every single soldier who made it possible for me to come and visit. Now, I won't say that the weather is cooperating because it's windy as hell and it is cold, man. It is cold up here. My staff told me to wear a jacket, and I said, now just be fine. And here I am 2 minutes in, wishing that I had listened because it is really freezing cold up here. But we're gonna have a little fun despite that because we are here to celebrate not just the United States Army, we're here to celebrate each and every one of you. And I know we've got some units here at Fort Campbell, and I want to give a shout out to each of the great units. So if you are with the 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles, let me hear you a little bit. Where's the 101st Airborne? That was pretty damn good. It was pretty damn good. Let me say that the 101st Airborne is one of the proudest units in the entire United States Army for all war fighters everywhere. Everybody knows the prestige, everybody knows the professionalism, and everybody knows the greatness of the 101st Airborne. So when the nation calls on the 101st Airborne, you all execute, you make us proud, you kick the enemy's ass, and you come home safely, and that's exactly what we want our soldiers to do. We are honored. Somebody said, I agree. Thank you. I appreciate that endorsement. We're also honored to be here to welcome the men and women from the Strike and Destiny Brigades who just finished deployments in Europe and the Middle East. We're the Strike and Destiny Brigades. I want to say to those of you who are here for the first time back home in a few months, we're proud of you, we're grateful to you, and from the Vice President of the United States, welcome home. We also want to recognize the Legionnaires. Where we got some Legionnaires at? Like 5 or 6. We got some Legionnaires. How about the Night Stalkers of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment? We got some Night Stalkers out here? A few? Like 3. They're all working right now. And I also want to give a shout out to the 52nd Ordnance Group, members of the 2nd Battalion, 44th Air Defense Artillery, the men and women who run the elite training schools here, and many, many more soldiers who make this one of the proudest military installations anywhere in the United States Army. And I want to tell you, just give you a message from the President of the United States. I know he couldn't be here, but the President is proud of our soldiers, and he's proud of every single one of you. So from the President of the United States, he just wanted to make sure that you knew he wished you a happy Thanksgiving, and he's grateful for all you do. Now, I'm proud and happy to serve with a lot of very good people. And one of them is my dear friend Dan Driscoll, who's the Secretary of the Army. Dan is doing a great job. And I also want to give a shout out to our incredible Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. I think he's doing an amazing job. And you know, Pete gave a speech at Quantico, which is a Marine base, don't hold it against us, but he gave a speech in Quantico a few months ago that I think is one of the best speeches that I've heard about the United States military, because he was talking about the incredible esprit de corps, and he was talking about the importance of holding the United States Army and all of our branches of the military to the very highest possible standards. And I listened to this speech, and I'm thinking as I'm watching this speech, man, Pete, this is a hell of a speech. This guy is one amazing orator, and he was talking about the importance of military standards. He said, and I'm going to quote here from his speech, "The new War Department golden rule is this: "Do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit"? Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops, or alongside people who can't meet basic standards? He was talking about the importance of bringing the highest standards possible to the United States Army. And I hear Pete saying that, and I'm like, hell yeah. That's exactly what we want out of the United States Army. I see a lot of you nodding your heads. And then he talks about the importance of this job and why we have to have the very best people doing this job. He says, because this job is life or death, standards must be met. And not just met at every level. We should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. And this means that the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. We're talking about bringing the highest standards in the world to the very best United States Army. I'm ready to run through a wall with this guy. And then Pete goes, "No more beardos." I'm like, what the hell is that all about? He's talking about me. And I said to Pete afterwards, I was like, man, you had me. This whole speech was amazing. But you know what? The point is here that we believe in you so much. We believe in your mission so much that we know that you guys can meet the highest standards in the world. And when you look to your left and to your right, we want you to know that you're serving with the very best and the very brightest this nation has to offer. Before I came over here, I was at the Chow Hall, and we got to serve some food to the soldiers there. And I was talking afterwards, just sharing a meal with a few of the soldiers. And a guy said to me something really interesting. He said that 250 years ago, when the Army started, there was a Prussian military leader who came over and helped train the very first United States Army. Because, of course, back then, we didn't have very many military experts in our country. We were still in our infancy. And what he said was very fascinating. I think the guy's name, he said, was von Steuben. Von Steuben said that it was only the Americans who just didn't need an order, but also needed to be told why they were doing what they were doing. And I thought that was a fascinating insight to the soldiers of 250 years ago and a fascinating insight to the soldiers of today. We don't just want people who mindlessly follow orders. We want people who think, because we know that the most powerful weapon in the United States arsenal, the most powerful weapon anywhere in the world, it's not a rifle, it's not a tank, it's not a helicopter or an airplane. The most dangerous and lethal weapon anywhere in the world is a United States soldier, and we're proud of you, and we're going to stand behind you every step of the way. And with that basic mindset of not just telling you what we need you to do, but why we need you to do it, I think you all should expect from your military leadership, from the president on down, you should expect us to explain what it is that we're doing and why we care so much about it. Why do we care so much about high standards? Not just because we think that standards got a little lax in the last administration. We care about high standards because if, God forbid, the President of the United States asks you to go to war, we want to make sure that the people that you're fighting with are the very best. We owe it to your moms and dads, your grandmas and grandpas, to only send the very best people off to foreign conflicts, and that is why we care so much about standards. You've heard our Secretary of the Army, our Secretary of War. You've heard the President of the United States. If you've listened to anything that they've said over the last few months, they talk a lot about preparing the Army and the whole military for the age of modern warfare, because it's changed a lot. We've got drones now, we've got cyber warfare, we've got satellites in space that are as important to the modern warfighter as anything, as any rifle or tank or airplane was 20 or 30 years ago. Now, yeah, of course, we still got a lot of tanks, we still got a lot of rifles, we still got a lot of the things that we've always had, but in this new generation of warfare, we need to give you the technology and the training to be the very best. And we know that you are the very best, but part of training you to be the very best is to make sure that you have the ability to use the modern weapons of warfare better than anybody else. When we look at the battlefield of the future, when we look at the next war, God forbid, if we're called on to fight it, it is going to be, if anything, a war up here as much as any other conflict in the history of the world. If you look at what's going on in Russia or Ukraine, or you look at what's going on in some of our counterterrorism missions, or you look at what could happen in the future in the next military conflict, it's not going to be the war that we fought 20 years ago. It's going to be a much different war. And one of the things I want every single one of you to know is that the President of the United States has given us a very simple mission, that we have got to equip you with the resources, with the training, and with the equipment to win the battle of the future. Now, I happen to believe that one of the mistakes that we made in this country, and let's be honest, it wasn't just Democrats, it was Democrats and Republicans, is that we were far too willing to send the bravest people in the world, our best natural resource, you all, the young people who put on a military uniform and are willing to fight and die for their fellow countrymen. We were too willing to send you off to battle without a clear mission, a clear definition of what you were supposed to accomplish. That was the mistake of Democrats and Republicans. It is the great stain on the political leadership of this country that we had the best troops in the world, and very often we went and sent you off to battle without a clear mission. And that is something this president and this administration is never going to do. If we ask you to go off and do something, if we ask our soldiers to risk their lives to defend their countries, what I promise you is that we're only going to do it with a clear mission and clear guidelines. And we're going to give you the tools necessary, we're going to give you the resources necessary, and we're going to empower you to do a very simple thing, which is kick the enemy's ass and come home safely. That's what the United States wants from its soldiers, and that's what the President of the United States asks of each and every one of you. It's not that hard, but that's what you should demand of your political leadership. Just as you follow orders of the President of the United States, this President stands by you. And if he asks you to do something hard, it's only going to be for a very good reason. You know, one of the things that I love about Thanksgiving, it's probably my favorite American holiday. If you think about all the holidays that we celebrate, Thanksgiving is the most uniquely American holiday. You know, Christmas, of course, the birth of Jesus, all of these other holidays, they're very important. And I love Christmas as much as anybody. I've got 3 little kids. But Christmas is a holiday that 1.8 billion Christians celebrate all over the world. Thanksgiving, what we celebrate tomorrow, that is a uniquely American thing. That's why, for example, we have, turkey. Think about turkey. Who really likes, be honest with yourself, who really likes turkey? You're all full of shit. Everybody who raised your hands. I know. Think about it. And here's how I know that every single one of you who raised your hand is lying to me. How many times do you roast an 18-pound turkey just randomly? Just, a nice summer afternoon, we're going to go get an 18-pound turkey. Nobody does it because turkey doesn't actually taste that good. But on Thanksgiving, on the most American holiday, I got a fan over here, on the most American holiday, we're going to cook a turkey, by God, because that's what Americans do. We cook this gigantic American bird, and we do all kinds of crazy things to make it taste good. I talked to a soldier today who she said she's going to deep fry a turkey, and I'm actually going to deep fry a turkey myself tomorrow. And look, here's the thing. If you've got to deep fry something to make it taste good, it probably isn't that good. That's a pretty good rule of thumb when it comes to food. Chicken is good all the time. Chicken is good when you deep fry it, but it's also good outside of it. But here's the thing about Thanksgiving. It is so American because at the heart of it is the spirit of gratitude. And I know that every single one of you has something tomorrow to be very thankful for and to be grateful for. And that's what I think, really separates. People ask me all the time for advice. And the only piece of advice I can ever give that I think is true for every single person in every circumstance is that the happiest people that I've ever met, the most successful people that I've ever met, they live their life with a spirit of gratitude. They recognize that they would not be there but for the grace of God and a lot of great people in their lives. And so if I may, as your vice president, that's the one piece of advice I want to give to you on this day before Thanksgiving, is to live your life in the United States Army, to live your life everywhere with a spirit of gratitude, to recognize that you wouldn't be wearing that uniform were it not for somebody in your life who loved you and cared for you, that you wouldn't have this incredible opportunity to serve the United States. And yes, it's tough. And yes, it's a life of sacrifice. But I happen to believe that the life of service and sacrifice is the greatest blessing that we have in this room today. Because what an amazing country it is that takes people from all walks of life and makes them part of the same United States Army, the same sword and shield for the American people, the same organization that for 250 years has kept us safe. So tomorrow, I'm thankful for a lot. I'm thankful for my beautiful wife and our 3 beautiful kids. I'm thankful to have the opportunity to serve as Vice President of the United States of America. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful to Almighty God for the incredible blessings that He's given this country and also He's given to me personally. But one of the things at the very top of the list that I'm thankful for is the United States Army and for the people in this room. Now, I know that a lot of you are going to spend tomorrow with your friends and families, but I also know that a lot of you are not going to have that opportunity. That you've got deployments you've got to prepare for, that you're stuck on this base, you're not able to travel home because you've got to prepare for the mission. And when I think about all the many blessings that are very, very present in my life, there is nothing that compares to being the Vice President of the United States at a time like this. Vice President of all of you, Vice President of the greatest fighting force that exists anywhere in the world, the United States Army. You guys make this a happy Thanksgiving for me, because every single day you show up to work, you put on that uniform and make your nation proud. You make me proud to be your Vice President. So happy Thanksgiving, soldiers. Keep on doing what you're doing, and never forget that the most deadly weapon anywhere in the world, it's not about technology, it's not about what you're holding in your hands, it's about what's up here. You are the most dangerous weapon anywhere in the world, and America is counting on it to keep us safe. Happy Thanksgiving, soldiers. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
That was Vice President J.D. Vance speaking to soldiers at Fort Campbell in Kentucky about Thanksgiving. We'll have more news after the break. And one of the biggest Thanksgiving traditions, the presidential pardoning of the turkeys. Now, North Carolina having a unique and special role in this year's presidential pardon. The two turkeys, Gobble and Waddle, were recently pardoned earlier this week and will be serving out the rest of their days as turkeys here in North Carolina at NC State University, known for their turkey studies. President Trump spoke earlier on the White House patio this week. Let's hear what he had to say.
Thank you very much, and I hope you like our new beautiful patio with matching stone to the White House. If this were grass today, you'd be sinking into the mud like they've done for many years, and you would be very unhappy. Please, thank you very much. This was a big day. It's a pardon day for a very important beast. On behalf of the First Lady and the entire Trump family, I want to wish all Americans a very, very happy Thanksgiving. It's a great time of the year, and our country is doing really well, economically like we've never done before. Today, we continue a time-honored American tradition. Well, that's a well-trained turkey. See how happy he is? In a few moments, I will grant a full, absolute, and unconditional presidential pardon to two handsome Thanksgiving turkeys, and this is their lucky day. This is a lucky day for them. But before going any further, I want to make an important announcement, because you remember last year, after a thorough and very rigorous investigation by Pam Bondi and all of the people at the Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the White House Counsel's Office, and the Department of Everything. We have a Department of Everything. You know what that is? I think that's called the White House. Into a terrible situation caused by a man named Sleepy Joe Biden. He used an auto pen last year for the turkey's pardon. So I have the official duty to determine, and I have determined, that last year's turkey pardons are totally invalid. As are the pardons of about every other person that was pardoned other than, where's Hunter? No, Hunter's was good. That was the one pardon, Pam, that was good, right? The rest of them are all invalid. I don't know what the hell you're going to do about that, but that's, now we're going to take a little of the joking. That is a mess. But they're hereby null and void. The turkeys known as Peach and Blossom last year have been located, and they were on their way to be processed, in other words, to be killed. But I've stopped that journey, and I am officially pardoning them, and they will not be served for Thanksgiving dinner. We saved them in the nick of time. This one has plenty of time, but they were saved in the nick of time. We're thrilled to be joined today by Vice President J.D. Vance, Second Lady Usha Vance, their daughter Mirabelle, and along with Attorney General Pam Bondi, Secretaries Marco Rubio, Scott Bassett, Pete Hegseth, Brooke Rollins, Howard Lutnick, Linda McMahon, Scott Turner, Administrator Lee Zeldin, who's done a great job. A nuclear power plant gets approved in less than a week. Okay? I'm only kidding, but pretty close to that. And we have more. Where's Lee? Stand up, Lee. One of my great superstars. Thank you. It used to take 20 years before you got rejected when you put in an application. Now we're doing them in a matter of weeks, right? And that's why we have the biggest plants anywhere in the world. We're leading in AI, we're leading in everything. Our auto plants are pouring back into our country. Where do you see the jobs coming with them? But many of them are under construction, but Lee's done a great job in getting those approvals. I appreciate it very much. FBI Director Kash Patel has been very busy doing a great job. Also, thank you, Kash. Along with members of, see, you got a follower, Kash. Along with members of Congress, and in particular, I want to mention Jason Smith and David Rozier. Where are those two guys? Come on, stand up, fellas. What good people. Jason knows more about the tax code than any living human being. He knows so much, we don't even want to hear about it, right? Too complicated. We're going to make it a simpler code. But we did in the great big beautiful bill, which just passed, your imprints all over that, and it's amazing. The biggest tax cuts in the history of our country for middle-income people. the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country for middle-income people, and the biggest jobs bill ever passed. And nobody thought we could get that one done. I'm glad. And we actually put 4 years, actually probably 8 or 10 years, but we put 4 years worth of material into one great, big, beautiful bill. So that worked out very well, and I want to thank everybody for working on it. JD, that was a great, you know, we were going to do it in small bills. We're going to have 18 bills and do it along the process. I'm glad, Scott, that we got it done. Because dealing with these Democrats, I think that's all one shot. But we have it all in one great, big, beautiful bill. Thanks as well to the chairman of the National Turkey Federation and the CEO of Butterball. That's a big deal. Jay Jandren. Where's Jay? Thank you. Stand up, Jay. Thank you very much. Along with his wife Leslie and their 3 children, as well as the farmer who raised these 2 magnificent birds, Travis Pittman and Wayne County, North Carolina. I won Wayne County by a lot. That means you had to vote for Trump, I think. I won by 92%. I like Wayne County. They're doing all right, right? And this is like a record-setting turkey that's going to be saved. The turkeys being pardoned today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, well, I shouldn't say this. I was going to call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those 2 people. I wouldn't pardon them. I wouldn't care what Melania told me. Darling, I think it would be a nice thing to do. I won't do it, darling. These are 2 of the largest turkeys ever presented to an American president, over 50 pounds each. It's the largest we've ever had. And those are big turkeys. Are they as good as the normal sized turkey? Better or as good? Do they tend to be a little fatty, maybe? No, he said no. He knows the turkey business. Anyway, despite their size, Secretary Kennedy has formally certified that these are the first ever Maha turkeys. I don't know if I agree with that. These are Maha. In other words, they could be fat, but they're still Maha. They've been fattened on a steady diet of grass, beef, to allow the smoothies and all of the other things that they've been eating for this occasion. This was a really big occasion. But they've eaten every fattening food that you can eat. We wanted to really make them special, and they really are. They're like record-setting. I've never seen a turkey that big before. Are they violent at all? Will they attack as I walk over? Because if they were, I'll stay right up here. But as you know, we're a tough on crime administration. We are tough on crime. You know, our border had 0 people coming in for the last 7 months, right? 0. I mean, even I find that hard to believe to me. They had millions and millions of people pour into our border, from prisons, from mental institutions, gang members, drug dealers. They poured in to our country like we were stupid people. We're not stupid people anymore. But nobody's ever seen anything. The job that they've done on the Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, the whole group, the job they've done on the border is almost like a miracle. We have, and the people that make these statistics have said 0. They've said 0 for the last 7 months. It has to be like a few people got in, but they say 0. And they're radical left Democrats to do the scoring. So I can't imagine they did that for us. The truth is, we have no people coming into our country illegally. It's an amazing statistic, and I'm very proud of it. And we have the most people working in the United States today, by far, than we ever had in the history of our country. So those are all good numbers. But instead of pardon, some of my more enthusiastic staffers were already drafting the paperwork to ship Gobble and Waddle straight to the terrorist confinement center in El Salvador. And even those birds don't want to be there. You know what I mean? It was a tough. I'd like to thank the president of that country. They do a rather efficient job. It's going to be the largest prison in history. I've never seen anything like it. And a lot of people are behaving on our streets now. You know, Washington, D.C. is considered a safe zone. This was one of our most unsafe places anywhere in the United States. It is now considered a totally safe city. I won't tell you about murders. We're having murders, like a lot of murders, on a weekly basis. We haven't had a murder in 6 months. And it doesn't sound good even to say that. We haven't had a murder in 6 months. But when you are averaging 1 and even sometimes 2 a week, and you haven't had 1 in 6 months, you can walk with your family down the middle of any street, go to a restaurant, you won't get in. They're opening new restaurants all over, and it's really been a beautiful thing to see. So Washington, D.C. is now a totally safe city, and a year ago it was a criminal mess. We removed past 1,700 people, career criminals, and people that came to this city from Venezuela and many other places. They were let out of prisons and they came here. There were Tren de Aragua, a lot of Tren de Aragua, that's from Venezuela. And we got them all the hell out of our country, or they're in prisons now. And you can walk down any street in Washington and you're going to be just fine. And I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank Pete Hegseth. The job you've done here is incredible. And I hear you having the same kind of success in Memphis, Tennessee. We had an even worse situation. And Memphis crime is down 64% in 3 weeks. And by the time you have 4 or 5 weeks, you're going to have it down almost where there won't be crime. And we could do that in Chicago, by the way, if they would let us. If the mayor was a low IQ person, but he should understand this is a very serious thing. You saw all the crime that took place last night, the night before. The woman with the burning, they burned the woman. They'll be talking about that now. They burned this beautiful woman riding in a train. A man was arrested 72 times. 72 times, think of that. And they'll let him out again. The liberal judges will let him out again. But we're ready to go. You know, we've been moving toward Chicago. We have a governor that thinks it's wonderful that only like 7 people were killed this week. But we are moving toward doing it. We're gonna, if crime gets, it's horrible what's happening in Chicago. We can make Chicago a safe city in a period of 4 weeks. In a period of 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks, it would be totally safe. And the people of Chicago want us to go there. And if you look at the crime that's taken place in Chicago in the last 2 weeks, just take a look. It's on the front page of every newspaper. It's out of control. The mayor is incompetent, and the governor is a big fat slob. You ought to invite us in, say, please make Chicago safe. We're going to lose a great city if we don't do it quickly. Make Chicago. We'll do the same thing as we did in D.C., the same thing as we did everywhere we've gone. It's become almost instantly safe. And I want to do it in Chicago. So Governor Pritzker, if you're listening, let's get your act together. Invite us in. We're going to make your place so safe. You're not going to have these crimes that are making the newspapers and the front page of every newspaper, television story, news story. We'll make Chicago a safe place very quickly. I looked at the various cases, granting mercy, discovering that the terrible trauma that everyone's going through. And I had a little bit of a Pritzker joke. I was going to talk about Pritzker and size, but when I talk about Pritzker, I get angry because he's not letting us do the job. So I'm not going to tell my Pritzker joke. They have a very cute little joke, you know. Some speechwriter wrote some joke about his weight. But I would never want to talk about his weight. I don't talk about people being fat. I refuse to talk about the fact that he's a fat slob. I don't mention it. On a more serious note, as we gather around the dinner table, I'd like to lose a few pounds too, by the way. And I'm not going to lose it on Thanksgiving, I can tell you that. Because I'm going to have a turkey, but it's not going to be that one. I hope all Americans will have the chance to enjoy the fellowship of family and friends and renew our faith in God's providence. 1 year ago, we had a We were a dead country 1 year ago. The King of Saudi Arabia said it to me. He said it to me actually 4 months ago when I was in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. He said, you know, 1 year ago, the United States was a dead country, and now you've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the hottest country. We have $18 trillion being invested as of now. We're not even close to being 1 year. The most ever was $2 trillion for a certain country I won't name during the last administration. In 4 years, they had less than $1 trillion being invested in the country. In 9 months, we have over $18 trillion. It's a number that nobody has ever even thought possible. And that's in building plants and building so many things, investments in our country. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. But we have more people working. We have more people praying. The churches are coming back. I don't know if you've been reading that story, but religion is coming back to America. Some people say, oh, why would you mention that? To me, that's a big deal. And this Thanksgiving, we're also making incredible strides to make America affordable again. Walmart announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal is 25% lower than just 1 year ago. That's a big deal. According to the USDA, the price of Thanksgiving turkey is down 33% from its Biden era highs. Potatoes are down 13%. Ham is down 15% compared to last Thanksgiving. So we are down to a level that we haven't seen in a long time. Egg prices are down 86% since March, and gasoline will soon be hovering around $2 a gallon. Under our leadership, we passed the largest tax cuts in history, the largest spending cuts in history, the largest regulation cuts in history, and we have fully secured our southern border. I've also ended 8 wars in 9 months, and we're working on that final war. It's not easy, but I don't know. I think we're going to get there. 25,000 soldiers, Ukraine, Russia. In the last month, 25,000 soldiers have died. So I think we're getting very close to a deal. We'll find out. I thought that one would have been gone quicker. We did 8. I thought that would have been an easier one, but I think we're making progress. In less than 1 year, we've accomplished more than most other administrations have accomplished in 8 years. And this is a very special Thanksgiving. We thank God for His many blessings and the great success that this country has seen in this short period of time. We draw strength from the love of family and friends, and we express our undying gratitude for the men and the women of the United States Armed Forces. We love them. We pray that peace and prosperity will continue to bless our land, and together we'll really just keep this great drive going to make America great again. MAGA, I think it's the greatest expression in the history of politics. Make America great again. So once again, Melania, thank you for doing such a great job and being such a great First Lady. And now let's go and give Gobble, Waddle. Waddle, by the way, is missing in action, but that's okay. We'll pretend Waddle is here. The gift that they've been waiting for. And I'll move over and I will just say very nicely, Gobble, your pardon. Come on, let's say it in front of Gobble. Thank you very much, everybody.
There you heard of President Trump pardoning Gobble. It did appear that Waddle was MIA. We're not completely sure, but we do believe that that presidential pardon is still valid regardless of the actual attendance of the turkey. We'll be back with more Live Impact News after the break. And welcome back to Live Impact News. I'm Jeb Goldman, in for Nick Sturdivant today. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody watching. We really appreciate you spending your Thanksgiving with us. We understand you have lots of options for television on Thanksgiving. We appreciate you choosing Live Impact News. This Thanksgiving, I was just outside, I'll tell you, a little chillier than I was expecting. We'd been blessed, if you will, if that's the way you want, with some warmer than average temperatures these last couple days. I'll tell you, I'm a seasons guy. I grew up in California, went to school in Missouri, lived in Ohio, Minnesota. I prefer seasons. I prefer when fall feels a little chillier. These last couple days certainly hadn't been kind of that typical fall feeling. But today, tomorrow, this weekend, it does appear we're going to be on the chillier side. Now, I'll say it once, I'll say it again. I went outside. I thought it was nice. I was able to wear this and some slacks. It was all right. Probably great weather for those turkey bowl, or my family does kickball. I don't know what you guys do, or, just enjoying a nice walk, enjoying the leaves. A lot of them still on the ground. But these colder temperatures, indicative of something maybe some are excited for, maybe not, but the cold weather. It does appear that winter is on the way. Obviously, to me, tomorrow makes the Christmas season official. Some people may have been getting a head start. I understand. I respect it. I am a traditionalist. I like to wait until after Thanksgiving to put up my decorations, start listening to Christmas music, everything. But I will tell you, at 12:01 tonight, I will be listening to Little Saint Nick by the Beach Boys. It's the best Christmas song. Would love to hear your opinions, though. Our Brad Panovich has also been tracking the weather and noticing some of those cooler temperatures. And he actually, on our live weather impact show, broke down his winter forecast. And it's an interesting one. Those who love winter, you want to take a listen to this one.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here on WCNC Plus with your live weather impact. Tonight's a big night. The full topic of tonight's show is going to be our winter forecast. I've been doing this for 21 years now. It started off as just kind of fun. Really they didn't even let me do this on TV back in the day. It was like a thing I did for fun because I love snow, I love skiing, I love the winter forecast. And so it's been something I've had a little passion for the last 2 decades plus. And so tonight we're going to do something a little different. different, we're going to reveal it on streaming only, so to make it kind of interesting. So here's a look at my winter weather impact. We're going to focus just on the forecast here in the first 8 minutes or so, but then Tim's going to join me. He's talking about the winter forecast for the Greensboro area, by the way. We're going to compare notes and talk about it, so if you have questions, shoot them to us, 704-329-3600. Anything I say or anything I don't say, I'd love to hear from you, because I think that would be really cool to talk about what you guys think about this forecast as we get into it. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about when our average snow falls across our area. So in the Charlotte area, we broke this down by month just to give you a kind of perspective on when the snow falls. So you can see very little November, though we're going to talk about that little bit we got last Monday. December, not a lot. The 2 months we get the most snow, January, February, and that's going to be key to my forecast as well. But really February, and this says something, because remember, February only has 28 days and then 29 days during leap year. So it has the least amount of days of any of the winter or cool season months, but it has produced the biggest percentage of snow. So if you want to see snow in the Charlotte area, it's really February, and I'll be honest with you, that first week of March. Statistically, the snowiest single calendar day in Charlotte, that meaning the most snow that has fallen on a single calendar day over our entire history, is actually March 2nd. There's been so many big storms in that last week of February into early March. A lot of that has to do with the pattern that we have in the southeast. It's when the cold air is still lingering, but we start to get that active storm track. So that's the time of year we typically see snow. But I will mention November, because last week we had our first trace of snow, but on average, our first measurable snow in the Charlotte area, on average, it can happen earlier, we can get it in December, is January 9th. So if it doesn't snow at all in December, don't think we're never going to see snow, because that's not normally when we see it. It is January. So the mean date, if you will, where we get measurable snow is usually right around January 9th. So we got to talk about this upcoming season. What is going to happen with El Nino, La Nina? We call that ENSO for short. It's the combination of either one. El Nino Southern Oscillation is what that ENSO stands for. Last year we had a pretty strong El Nino. This year, the forecast and where we currently are is in a weak La Nina. So that's the basis of our forecast this year, looking at what happens during a weak La Nina. You may ask, Brad, what does happen when we have a La Nina pattern during the winter? Well, cooler than average water over the equatorial Pacific does produce warmer than normal conditions across the southeast and drier. But notice where that jet stream is. This is key. The jet stream is typically here across the Ohio Valley. We tend to be on the warm side, but because that active jet stream is so close to us, we can occasionally get a storm to sneak down here. So you should never write off a La Nina winter, especially a weak La Nina winter. Now, when we're talking about snowfall averages in these different regimes, in the Charlotte area, our all-time average, which goes back 147 years if we count this year now, is 5.4. But the last 30 years, the 30-year average has dropped to 3.5. And in the last 10 years, that average is even more meager at 2 inches. So if you think it hasn't snowed a lot lately, you would be correct. Remember, we had our first 2 snowless years in a row before last year. We finally saw, I think it was 1.2 inches. Now, in El Nino years, 5.6 is the average. In La Nina years, though, 4.1. And what is La Nada? That's the neutral phase. Actually, what's interesting is our weather in the winter, when we have a weak El Nino or a weak La Nina or even a neutral kind of in the middle, that tends to be our best snow years. It's not when we have really strong El Ninos or La Ninas. It's really when we're more in the middle of those two. And so when we look at some of the other things that I look at from a checklist standpoint, where are we with that ENSO? Well, right now with the weak La Nina, that usually means warm and dry. Above average snowfall in Siberia this year, there was slightly above. We looked at that in October. That usually means cold and dry. Arctic sea ice, unfortunately, still near record lows. That typically means warm and dry. And because of climate change and warm sea surface temperatures over most of the equatorial areas of the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the East Coast, that tends to be warm and dry. So typically a lot of the checklist, like indicators, would mean warm and dry. So overall, I would think warm and dry, but most people just care about the snow. Snowfall over La Niñas recently, obviously 22, 23, we had 0, but look at 21, 22, 4.3, and I want you to focus on 2010, 11. That was a very decent La Nina year. We had cold and snowy weather. That was one of the coldest winters I remember here in Charlotte, and that's always a wild card. So not all La Niñas are created the same. Remember our forecasting rules? Where do we look? I put the little check there because 3 to 5 days out is when you start to see the actual snow chances. So just remember that when we start getting into some of these forecasts. So let's get to the forecast. Cut to the chase, Brad, right? What am I forecasting temperature-wise? I think we will be above average, but not by a lot. I think it'll be just slightly above, so not a blowtorch. Certainly no big blowtorch this year. I think we'll actually see temperatures maybe close to average or a little bit above, maybe a half a degree to a degree, so not crazy. Rainfall-wise, this includes all precipitation, not just snow. It's going to be dry. I think the drought's going to continue. I just don't see a very wet pattern developing this winter. But what about snow? We can still have a dry winter and have snow. Remember, snow is 90% air, so you don't need a ton of moisture. You just have to have moisture and cold air time up. So snowfall, I actually think most of the Western Carolinas could be slightly above, and then many areas of the Piedmont near average. So I do think we're going to get snow this year. And as I do every year, I started doing this a couple years ago, let's look at the bold forecast. I like to forecast some ranges for some of the major cities across our area. Boone, Hickory, Charlotte. Boone's average snowfall is 25.6. I'm going to go 28 to 35. Hickory's average snowfall is 6.9 inches. I'm going to go 6 to 8 this year. And for Charlotte, our average snowfall is 3.5 inches, as I mentioned, over the 30-year average. I'm going to go slightly above, but if we get near average, I wouldn't be shocked. I'm going to go 3 to 6 inches, which would be the most snow we have seen in quite a while. Because I think this pattern is actually going to be pretty topsy-turvy, I think the chance of timing out 1 to 3 winter storms at some point late in the season, and I'm particularly talking January, February, is more than likely. So I do think we're going to see snow this year, but it will be mild. Coming up, Tim Buckley and I are going to kind of compare notes and talk about the winter forecast. Send your questions in, though.
Well, you heard it from Brad Panovich, a slightly above average snowfall predicted for later on in this season. Now, I'll tell you, as excited as I am to hear that we may get some snow, if the light dusting we saw earlier this month is any indication, I don't necessarily know if the city is ready for some snow. I'll tell you, I've lived in Charlotte for a few years now. We had some decent snow, not too far off of this time last year. I feel like it might have been late summer, maybe early January. And if you were on the roads, as I was on the way home, and mind you, there was some black ice, and I appreciate people driving cautiously. People were driving very cautiously, and I'm pretty sure if I had got out of my car and actually walked home, I could have probably beat my commute time. So hopefully a good weekend morning, like a Saturday morning snow, maybe towards the tail end of college football season, or maybe a little Sunday morning snow for the end of NFL season. I think we could all agree that'd be great. But you heard from Brad Panovich expecting a slightly above average snowfall and a dry to average rainfall winter for us here in Charlotte. We'll be back right after the break. And welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jeb Goldman, in for Nick Sturdivant. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're so appreciative and thankful to spend this holiday with us. I've been saying it all day, and I'll say it one more time. You have a lot of options for your Thanksgiving viewing. It's one of the great TV holidays, so we very much appreciate you spending your time with us here on Live Impact News. And fresh off the heels of Thanksgiving is Black Friday. A lot of you guys hopefully taking the day off, taking some time to rest, relax, recharge, get ready for the holiday season. I know when I get off tomorrow, I said it earlier, I will be decorating, getting in the full Christmas holiday spirit. But for those of you looking for something to do, really interesting event here in Charlotte. Comedian Ryan Davis, you may have seen his special on YouTube, Underrated, very, very, very funny. He'll actually be performing live in Charlotte. He's a Black Friday comedy show at the Oasis Shriner Temple. Our Nick Sturdivant, a man who appreciates funny like nobody you have ever met in your entire life, actually got the opportunity to speak with Ryan and some of the performers. Let's listen to that interview right now.
So we want them to come out and bust their guts with laughter. Now, they're already going to be busting their guts from the food the day before. We want to come in and bust their guts with plenty of laughter the whole night long. You got myself, Tito Kuntz. I'm hosting the show, and we've got saxophonist, jazz saxophonist by the name of Alex Milan. He's going to open it up to sort of saute the ladies as they're coming in. Is that a word? If not, I just made it up.
Yeah. We'll make it a word.
And then I'm going to come out and start the show off. And then we've got a female by the name of Janine Slaughter who's coming in to, I guess, satisfy the ladies' taste of comedy as well, because people always say, Tito, you don't bring no women in. I want to see some women. So we've got her on the show. And then my guy, T. Springs, is going to do his thing, rip it up, and set the stage for the underrated Ryan Davis.
Yeah.
So that's what we got. Black Friday, 8 o'clock at the Oasis Shrine Temple.
Let's get to you, T Springs, man. What can folks expect from your set, man?
Oh, I'm silly. I'm silly. I'm like that relatable, silly cousin, nephew that you got that you've been telling him his whole life he funny, he should do comedy. I finally decided to really do it 10 years ago, and I've been loving it ever since. My style of comedy is just, you're going to be able to relate to it. You're going to be able to look at me up there and hear what I'm saying and be able to say either you have somebody in your family like that or you can secondhand know that situation. That's just how I bring my style of comedy, which makes me and Ryan such a good team, because he can come in and give you everything else. You know what I mean? I kind of like just set the table, and he come in there and just, you know, played everything and kills it. So I love it, man. And always working with the Queen City Omegas, man. Every time we've done shows with them, Tito has always provided a room for us to be able to do our thing and showcase our talent. And I speak on, when I say us, I mean almost every comedian in North Carolina, period.
Yeah, that's worth doing a show.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you're good enough to do it, then yeah.
Yeah, and his rooms are always great too. When he said the ladies, it's always like
it's always 70-80% women.
I'm just saying, we the Qs, they go
Look, I'm not gonna hold it against you. You on the other side of 1911. I'm on the good side of 1911. I just want to throw that out there.
Y'all start that talk. I'm gonna move out there.
I just want to throw that out there. I had to take a shot.
It's always the capitalists got to give us some notoriety. We don't even mention y'all.
Throwing stones at the guy.
And we're gonna wrap up this interview just now. Ryan, I want to ask you something, man. So I've heard somebody referred to you on a podcast as I've heard it on a couple of podcasts, greatest in your generation. But the title is underrated. Your special is underrated.
Yeah.
Do you really believe you're underrated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. The funny part is the people who say I'm the greatest of my generation are people who know what it is that I do. The reason I say underrated is because a lot of the general public, there'll be people watching this that goes, I've never heard of them. And then you got people
crazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You got people like D.L. Hughley and Dave Chappelle and people like that going, no, he's the greatest of his generation. And there's the disconnect. So when I dropped my special, underrated. You know, it's out. It's been out for a month. 2 million views. You know,
Congratulations, man. Congratulations, man. Clap it up, man. Clap it up. Clap it up.
Yeah, people, you know, hopefully after, you know, the run of the special and by the time I shoot the second one, it won't be the case anymore. People understand why they call me that. But as of right now, I still kind of feel it. Yeah.
Okay. T Springs, how long have you been working with Ryan?
What's today? We've been knowing 2 days before Thanksgiving. People don't know is, and we have to explain this to people a lot of times. They think sometimes they see comedians together and they automatically assume that comedy is what brought them together. Me and Ron been knowing each other since childhood. Wow. You know, we grew up in the same neighborhood together. We got an uncle in common that ain't either one of our uncles.
Yeah, he married both our aunts.
So you know what I mean? So like we like cousin-in-laws. I don't know what it is, but like me and Ron been knowing each other since like grade school.
He the first kid I saw when I walked out the door.
Yeah. So like we
in my life, he was the first kid. Yeah.
To be funny. And when we embarked on this relationship as far as comedy goes, he was actually doing comedy at the time and doing videos online. So we was just trying to figure out a way of monetizing it. You know, so like I was pretty much what he called at the time a brain truck. And while that, you know, time frame, I think 2013 to 2015, I was monitoring and watching and seeing how comedy is supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And I finally got up enough nerve. He put me on a list one night and made me do 3 minutes.
Oh, I thought he was about to lie. I tricked him into doing comedy. I told him to come see me perform. He got there and his name was on the list.
Oh, snap. Wait, 3 minutes had to feel like an hour.
But you got to understand with those 3 minutes over the last 2 years as we're traveling from state to state and I'm doing jokes in the car.
Yeah.
And I'm going over material to where he's made up in his mind for me that I'm funny enough.
Do it. Yeah, you can do it.
So
stop playing.
You got to do 3 minutes. And I went up there and it was the most exhilarating feeling at a time when I really needed that. So I was like, yo, this is what we're doing. And for a while we worked and did comedy and it wasn't until we decided to put both feet in that we really start seeing, you know, the fruits of our labor in this comedy game. And ever since then, we just been running together, making it happen.
Concourse on right there, man.
Kannapolis.
Okay.
We both from Kannapolis. He moved to Concord.
Okay.
He had to go to that other school.
Wow. That other friend.
Yeah, it's a lot of beef going on.
It's a lot of beef
that we ain't beefing about. You know what I'm saying?
Who were y'all? I want to ask you this too. Early influences. It could be either in comedy, just in life, man. Because I feel like those influences shape you to who we are today, right? Like, who are those early influences for you guys?
For me, I guess I'm the elder statesman here. I got into comedy back in the mid '80s.
So Lenny Bruce.
No,
Lenny
Bruce.
That's throwback.
Sorry. Yeah, I put him in the black and white era.
But Rich Pryor, who I consider as the GOAT, that OG there, he was the one that really sort of made me think that I want to do this.
Yeah.
And when I first started, there was no black rooms, as we used to call them. There were no black comedy clubs, no BET Comic View, no Def Jam. It was just rooms, predominantly white rooms. And I went there thinking I was going to be the next Eddie Murphy or Richard Pryor. Not so much. Not so much. So at that point, after about a year's time frame, I decided to change up my way of thinking. And I thought about it after a guy told me, well, Tito, you got to be yourself. You gotta be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. You can't be the next Rich Pryor. You got to be Tito Kuntz. And from that point on, I decided to be me. And it's been over 30 years in the game. And as T mentioned, that my Omega house, the Queen City Omegas, we have a frat house here on Statesville Avenue, the Omegas of Charlotte, and started doing shows there once a month back in 1997.
Wow.
28 years later, we're still running. And to their point,
big right there, man.
I brought in comedians from all over the country that have since gone big time and all of that, touched the stage, blessed the stage, and got on the mic and just said, I just want to do 3 minutes. I heard you have a room here. So we've been running it. And that was where it started. That's where it's still going. And it was a pleasure to see this guy get on my stage and these two guys as well. And he might tell you about way back in the day.
I heard about a story. We're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay.
T Springs, early influences, man.
For me, watching Eddie act Like I was a big fan of like 48 Hour stuff like that. Not so much of the comedy special frame, but one of the earlier influences for me as a whole was Def Comedy Jam. Me and my older cousin, we used to like secretly VHS tape and what we call dub them. You know what I'm saying?
We did that same thing.
And then like write something over the top of the so we didn't want our parents to know that we was really indulging in this. So like we would go back when we had free time and rewatch those things. So like watching those guys hit the stage, for me at that time, it didn't seem conceivable. It didn't seem like that was something that I could actually do. It was like watching superheroes, right?
Yeah.
I never thought that I could actually do that. Getting a little bit older, I seen J.J. Williamson perform on Cedric the Entertainer had a thing he did.
First Amendment.
Yeah. No, it was like some kind of boxing thing that they had. It was a tape they did. It was some boxing thing that they had because Lil Duval was on it at the time. He was still using his real name at the time. And I watched J.J. Williamson do a set on there, and I remember thinking like, if I did comedy, I want that. I want to be, because it seemed totally original. It didn't seem like doing Michael Jackson jokes or whoever the president at the time was jokes. It was like his life. And I was like, if I did comedy, I want to do that. And for me to actually get to a point where I felt like it was conceivable and something that I could actually do, and I had a chance at it, was watching this guy. Watching the guy that I grew up with, that we both had the same households, we both had nothing, we both was trying to do something, and watching strangers want pictures, want an autograph, want to buy a t-shirt, and you go up in front of strangers and tell your life story. I was like, nah, maybe I got a chance. So yeah, those are my influences, and I'm still being influenced to this day. We still got a long way to go.
Man, Ryan, I see you smiling a little bit, man. when you hear that, I want to hear your influences.
I wasn't expecting that. It was just, man, why you say that? But my influences, my father is the funniest man I know. I think he's absolutely hilarious. He could have done this if he had made the choice. That was my first influence, but he created a funny family. All my siblings are funny. Some of them don't even know they're as funny as they are because they're being dead serious. But and then when it came to comedy, and I grew up in a household that my parents loved watching comedy. I remember like watching HBO specials the night they debuted. Like we was all in front of the television. I remember when Chris Rock did Bring the Pain and Bigger and Blacker, like the moment
classics.
It came on.
Classics.
I was front dead center watching it, and Kevin Hart is one of my bigger influences as far as once I saw Let Me Explain and the ending of it or whatever, I got on stage 3 days later. Like, so as far as those are my biggest influences as far as who moved me to go pursue this. But influence as far as my style, it's definitely more Dave Chappelle, Patrice O'Neal, Bill Burr kinda.
Man. Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I thought you was gonna shed a tear at first when he was talking about you. I was waiting for that too. But
nah, it just caught me off guard.
Got him.
Got your moment up.
But it just shows, man. Comedy, man, just in different ways, even from your family, man, it just can influence you, man. I got to get back to what Tito was gonna bring up. I was gonna bring it up. I heard the story about Ryan's first appearance at the show. How it went. He was very humble about it. Yeah. Okay. He was very humble about it.
Oh yeah.
But y'all did the right thing.
Turned my life around.
Is that a great setup for the story?
Yeah. Let's hand it over to him.
Okay.
Yes,
I didn't know
what happened.
That's an alley-oop. Tito booked me to play the Mega House the first time. So there
Put
was
money in his pockets.
There was a place somewhere. It was a room. I forgot. But Tito had saw me there, and I did very well.
Yeah.
And Tito was like, "Cool."
I saw potential.
I saw it. Let's work. You know what I mean?
What year was this?
Woo.
14.
Okay.
Yeah, probably
14.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ain't no. Probably it was 2014.
He knows exactly.
It was 2014. I was like, oh man, because though, like, if you are a comic coming up here in Charlotte, Mega House is the best room in the city. You know what I mean? You know it's gonna be packed. You know that they enjoy comedy. They come to laugh. Ain't no excuses. You
it's
do
like a
your
rite of
job.
passage. You know what I'm saying? It's a rite of passage for him to want you to come into his building.
Oh yeah, it's invite only, baby. There's no yeah. There ain't no list you can sign to get on. No nothing. No, you get booked to this. So this is the, we see you. And I've been wanting to work the room. You know what I mean? All my OGs was playing the room. Everything. Everybody I respected. And I was like, man, I finally get this opportunity. I invited friends out, family out. The girl I had a crush on, I invited her out. She sat
Boy,
front
this sound like
row.
a recipe for disaster.
Oh man.
She sat where?
Right in front. Nick. Right in front. Right in front.
And that's where you messed up.
Boy, and when I tell you, I bombed like nobody ever bombed before. I couldn't believe it because it was the first bomb of my career. Not only am I bombing, I'm bombing in front of people I care about.
Yes.
And I'm bombing in a room after, and I'm telling you, Tito killed. Like everybody was killed. I was the only person who didn't do well that day. So you can't say, oh, it's the crowd.
No.
It was me. It was 100% me. Oh my gosh. And then my guy Antoine Scott was the closer, right?
Yeah.
Set the building on fire. He was murdering. And I'm watching the girl I like, who didn't even laugh at me, just knocking stuff off the table, laughing at somebody else. It broke me. I was like, this will never happen to me again. I ain't even want Tito to pay me.
He did. True. He's telling the truth.
I ain't even want him to pay me.
After every show, I take all the comedians back in office, and I speak with them, and I give them their pay.
Yeah.
He told me he did not deserve it.
I didn't deserve it.
Sure did. I said, no, my word is bond. You get it.
Yeah, he made me take he forced the money
Sure
upon
did.
me. But I didn't because you paid me to do a job, I didn't do the job. You shouldn't get paid for it.
And I want to say this. That's what I've always liked about Ron. He cares about the art form of what we do. Like that's the loyalty and respect that we have for Tito. That's one thing, but like he cares more about the art form. He's never chased the money. We can make enough money to get to the next city. We okay. He cares so much about the art form that he's left a lot of meat on the bone. Because he don't want it that way.
Yeah.
A lot of opportunities that probably came across his table that he probably denied because that don't fit what he is into. You know what I'm saying? And he started out doing stand-up comedy first, right?
Yeah.
And the internet became a means for him to get noticed to be able to go do that thing. So a lot of times people are pressing, hey man, where's the videos? We enjoy your videos. We enjoy it, but that is to get me on stage. I'm here now. He cares more about his art form that he's trying to build. So 20, 30 years from now, people can talk about that as a legacy. I love that. You know what I mean? If I can paint a great picture and it takes me 30 years to paint it, as long as it's the 16th chapel, I'm cool. I don't need to paint 3,000 pictures. You know what I mean? I think we need more of that in the game. People that really care about this art form. A lot of people are trying to jump the line. They want to be famous. They want girls. They want the money. They want the fame and all that stuff. But they not expounding on their art form. You know what I mean? It's like you're not getting better at it. You know what I mean? It's just I know people. I've been doing it 10 years, and I've passed a lot of people as far as the art form, and it's not something I'm proud of. These are peers or friends of mine. I'm like, yo, how you not getting better? And you performing as much as me. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't care about the art form. They care about, I got a girl phone number last night when I got on stage. Tito paid me. Like, oh.
You talking about humility, man. It's humility, man.
Yeah, and I ended up, but that's why I love
let me tell him this. When we were in the back office talking, he didn't want to take the money. He said, Tito, if you give me another chance, I'll come and redeem myself. I said, you got it. Sure did. And booked him, I forgot when it was, but I booked him later on. And
it was a roast for his retirement.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah, he went viral in that same month.
Yeah,
it was like everything was happening in that month.
But I was like, and this is the thing: a lot of people, for some reason, don't know I can roast. I don't know why they don't know this.
You know what it is? You come off as a nice guy.
Yeah.
Them be the ones.
Yeah.
That's
like, them be the ones when they say the roast stuff, it hurts you the worst because they be like the truth, like articulate
Yeah. Look, I'm in the room with comedians right now. I'm not about to step out of bounds and say any jokes because y'all gonna roast me. I'm too sensitive. I might cry.
Kids. I'm one of 8 kids.
Yeah.
And my dad is the funny one.
Yeah.
I got more practice than anybody should ever get at roasting. So, and I love the art form.
Yeah.
So when Tito, hired me to do it, I was just sitting there. I was like, man, they have no idea. I'm about to murder everybody. And then after I did my set or whatever, and Tito was like, I got a date for you.
Yep.
Let's say, and that's when I met Marvin Hunter, and now Marvin has become one of my best friends.
Wow.
Marvin Hunter.
Yeah.
Look him up.
Tito, I got to ask you, man, my last question for y'all, man. When you look at their careers, even yourself, man, what comes to mind, man?
Success without the hoop liner sense.
Yeah.
Because they started humble, sort of like on the underground. A lot of these cats that have come through, and they just matriculated their way up the ladder.
Yeah.
And they're doing big things. And a lot of them told me over the years, said, man, no matter how high I get in this game, if you call me and need me, I'll be back. Just like that.
Wow.
So it feels good for me to sit here with these guys, knowing them personally and all of that, and see that their careers are just ascending still. It makes me feel good.
I got to ask y'all, man, when y'all hear that, man.
I mean, it's spot on because we don't need to be booked in Charlotte, Concord, Kannapolis area.
Yeah.
We can do that ourselves, right? We don't let people call us and say, "Hey, I want to book you here." We can do that. We have a strong enough pull in ourselves, but it's Tito. So like when Tito called me and say what he wants done, I already know what Ryan's like, get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's him. Like no other promoter or somebody with a room can call us and say, hey, I got this much money and I want to do that, because it's backwards for us to to do that. But for them, of course, like he said, we've always stayed true to that.
Yeah.
What you want? What we doing? How we doing it? Like just however, whatever. And Tito is a businessman, so he want to be like, I want to make sure I'm dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. Come on, Tito, it's you, bro. We gonna get it done. You know what I mean? And like I say, with me and Ryan's success, if that's what you want to call it, sometimes we have survivor's remorse. You know what I mean? Like I still go back and hang where I'm from and kick it with the homie. I'm still the same guy. And we've lost a lot of friends and family members that think we've changed.
Yeah.
Like no, I'm the same guy. You just don't invite me to nothing. You think I'm busy? I want to come.
Yeah.
Like I want to be there. I thought you was on the road. Ask me.
Ask me.
I'm at home all day.
All these means of communication.
Right. It's that thing, and like that keeps us grounded. Like we still call each. I call Ryan because I seen a meme on the internet. We'll laugh about it and end up on the phone for 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like we still just sit around and do nothing together, and that's what I love. And we can also be in rooms with the David Chappelles and all these people, and still just be in there kicking it and trill. Like we don't have to pull our phones out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I say this all the time. People don't take pictures of stuff that they plan on seeing again. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you don't see people in New York taking pictures of Eiffel Tower if they stay there.
Right.
I mean, of the Statue of Liberty.
I was like, man, they got a hell of a camera.
Yeah. I was thinking, see that far.
I wanted to say that.
But people in Paris don't take pictures of the Eiffel Tower. Like you can tell who the tourists are. You know, so like we get around these type of situations, and we believe that we're supposed to be here.
Man.
Yeah. The thing with Tito will always have a special place in my heart because he believed.
Yeah.
In this game, people don't believe in you like that. Tito has saw the whole thing for me from beginning to end, and then some people may be like, well, he booked a lot of people or whatever. He saw everybody. Y'all weren't there when I'm opening for Sean Jones in Columbia, South Carolina, and he's pulling up and pulling me to the side and telling me about my set and things like that whenever I first start headlining, and he don't miss the show. Like I've had people I started doing comedy with that I thought was my brother, ain't never seen me, don't ever come to my shows. Tito, if I'm within a 3-state area, he pulling up. And don't tell me. Don't ask for free tickets, no nothing. Tito can get whatever from me. That's what real support looks like.
Yeah, that's respect right there.
Yeah, so like it's like I love that he gave me the opportunity to do the Omega House and things of that nature, but he showed me what friendship looks like, what actual support looks like, what it looks like for somebody to believe in you and have your back through everything. So I'd do anything for Tito, man.
And the bros. Let's
And
make
the
sure
bros, they
extend that to us as well while we're around.
Yeah.
Like anytime we go down there and do that thing, even if we just coming out to support some other. I've been down there one time. I bought tickets, brought a date to support. I think you had brought Marvin back. Marvin Hunter had came back that time, and I was just down there chilling, relaxing, having a good time. And I went to the bar to buy the drinks, and they didn't take my money. And I'm like, yo, no, I'm not performing tonight. I'm trying to pay. It's like, nah, you good, bro. Last time you was here, like, and it's that. You know what I mean? So it extends past just Tito. You know what I'm saying? So it's a family thing.
Look, man, if y'all got plans on Black Friday, man, scrap them. Because it's a big event. Tito, close us out, man. I don't feel right closing us out, man.
Once again, it's a once in a lifetime this year. Because it's Black Friday on Friday the 28th, 8 o'clock at the Oasis Shrine Temple. We've got the Ryan Davis Unrated Comedy Show with friends. Myself hosting, Tito Kuntz, Janine Slaughter, female on the show. We've got T Springs right here, and we've got a jazz saxophonist by the name of Alex Milan. So we want you to come out, have a good time. Bring your family that are in town. Get them out of your house.
If you're looking for something to do,
bring them so they can eat our food. Clean up your house and make them come out. So we're going to have a good time. Looking forward to everybody coming out, please. If I would say one last thing. Tickets, go online to Eventbrite, and they can find the tickets there.
Yeah, you can go to Eventbrite, and in the search engine, just put in Ryan Davis, and it'll come up right there.
Okay.
And are y'all selling tickets at the door? A lot of people ask that as well.
But I tell you what.
Selling tickets at the door.
I tell you what. I'm going to give you, if you're on Facebook, DM me, Tito Kuntz, Koonce. And I didn't even get the authorization from the brothers, but if you DM me the first 10 people, I'm going to have your name at the door, free tickets. DM me.
He said
Facebook.
I'm about to
What's your name?
We got it.
You heard him. DM him at Tito Kuntz on Facebook. Should be a great show. I mean, really appreciate Ryan Davis, Tito, and everyone coming and spending the time with us. It's going to be a great show tomorrow. I'll tell you what, we do a lot of really interesting segments here on Live Impact News, have a lot of really, really cool guests. Watching that one with Nick and those comedians, I mean, you could tell they're entertainers. I mean, that was one of my favorites that we've done. Should be a great show Black Friday. I mean, Tito had a great point. Get the family out of the house, go watch them, support a great cause. It's going to be a great, great show. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., Oasis Shriner Temple. Doors open at 7, and I don't know if the DMs were full. I can't tell you. I haven't talked to Tito. But if they aren't, it's worth putting yourself out there, see if you can get a couple of free tickets for you and the fam. Should be a great show. We'll have more news after this. Welcome back to Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. My name is Jeb Goldman, in for Nick at this usual hour. I hope everyone's having a lovely Thanksgiving. I cannot tell you how thankful myself and the rest of the WCNC crew are that you are spending your holiday with us, hopefully at home with family, enjoying a chilly but not too chilly Thanksgiving holiday. You know, 3 o'clock, you might be getting dinner ready at this point. I know my family likes an early dinner. Hopefully yours does too, enjoying all the fixins. If you were or maybe you're watching us in lieu of the halftime show for Detroit and Green Bay, you'll have seen a lot of commercials for this weekend's big Panthers game. Panthers taking on the first place LA Rams. Should be a phenomenal game. Panthers looking all right, looking to rebound after a tough loss against the Niners. Red hot Rams coming into the Carolinas, but as our Chris Mulcahy told us earlier today, the weather might play a factor. Should be an interesting game. Our Nick Carboni sits down and breaks down that loss against the Niners and lets us know what the Panthers need to do to get a big win against the Rams at home this Sunday. Let's take a listen.
We asked ourselves all week, are the Panthers ready for prime time? Well, after what we saw Monday night in San Francisco, the resounding answer to that is no, especially on offense in a 20-9 loss against the 49ers, a game in which the pass attack was putrid like it was against the Saints 2 weeks ago. Welcome to Panthers on the Plus. I'm your host, WCNC Charlotte Sports Director Nick Carboni. John Ellis is always ready for prime time, although he's preparing for drive time down there on Fox Sports Upstate in South Carolina. Also does Panthers pregame on 99.7 The Fox, and you can go visit him at Clutch Bar on Sunday morning before the Panthers take on the NFC West leading and NFC leading LA Rams on Sunday. That'll be a tough one. We'll talk about it. John, let's call it an unofficial Panthers segment called What Was That? So, John, I ask you that first. What was that?
What was that? Well, that sums up many years you and I have been here together covering this team. Yeah, what was that? In a way, I was talking with our friends Mac and Bone this morning on FNZ. They had me on, and I said, guys, this is a lot like the NFL season at large. Every team, with the exception of maybe a couple, so volatile, so unpredictable. Week to week, you just don't know what you're going to end up with. And obviously, San Francisco is a good team. They have a lot of good players on offense. They were depleted on defense. And that was my analysis going into this game, is your opportunities were absolutely there to take advantage. But all the great analysis goes to waste because it's the league, it's the NFL, and all of a sudden you got Ike Ekwonu struggling at left tackle against Bryce Huff, of all people, with no Bosa in the lineup. Warner is not anywhere to be found because he's on IR. So you think, okay, you get the running game going, but that what seemed to be a 55-minute drive to open the game, I think, did a little number on Carolina. And perhaps the head coach, Dave Canales, who we just spoke with in his press conference there, maybe it influenced his tempo of play calling there is the running game. That was the stunner to me, Nick. No offense to the coach or their staff, but Rico Dowdle is a very explosive player. He only had 6 carries in that game.
Yeah, okay, so Dave Canales on his Tuesday afternoon kind of wrap-up call from the game the night before admitted to us, yes, I could have called a better game, basically paraphrasing, especially when it comes to the run game. John, we've heard Matt Rule say this, I'm going to run the ball this many times and not do it. How is the head coach coming on the day after saying, oh yeah, you said we should have run the ball. We absolutely should have run the ball more after 9 carries by the running backs. Like, what is the disconnect there, do you think?
You know, I don't know. In that particular game, I think maybe it was a matter of the carryover from Atlanta. I think, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but there was maybe just a mention of that last night by Dave or Bryce that we felt good about what happened last week in Atlanta, paraphrasing here, with the passing game, and maybe that was more of a priority this time around. Maybe there were some matchups they liked in the passing game. I think coaches, you know, you've covered this game for a long time and sports for a long time. They're going to say things, and obviously they're not going to tip their hand. When Matt Rule said that many years ago, we kind of chuckled at it. We could have 30 carries a game, he said, or else Joe Brady's fired is what he meant. And he was a man of his word because Joe wouldn't run the ball like that. He just wouldn't run into a brick wall. In this case, I think Dave is just trying to, do the PR deal, but I think there's some conviction there too. He comes from Tampa Bay. He comes from Seattle. He was steadfast with the run game in both those places, including his 1 year as a coordinator with Rachaad White. Whether it worked or not, Rachaad, I believe, was right around 4 yards a carry. He would bang that ball and make sure they were committed to it, which is why yesterday's game in that environment surprised me. So we're all human. Coaches are human. And I think that was a human moment for Dave to say, you know, I did some inventory. Yeah, we can't let the game get away from us to a point where we forget about our playmakers. Running back's an interesting position, Nick. They're not on there on the boundary. They're not part of the modern structure of offense. You almost have to force fit them into your structure. And all of a sudden, Rico shows up on the scene here. Chuba's the guy. There's a component to his game, Nick, that just goes beyond the yardage. There's an energy to his game that lifts others, I do believe. And I think that's what was missing, among other things, yesterday in that game.
All right, so regardless of the run game, John, and you kind of mentioned it in the beginning of the segment, like this was a pass defense to be had by a passing attack that had Atlanta's number one rated defense by some metrics and statistics for a franchise performance the week before. How concerning was it that Bryce Young, Dave Canales, and this passing game could not take advantage?
I want to say it's concerning, but here's the thing, Nick. I don't see trends anymore. Like, when you have a program that's established for maybe 4 or 5 years, and they have an identity, and they have a core, and you see something they do so well go away the next week, you're like, okay, it would be like Mahomes throwing it 15 times for the Chiefs. That's not what they do. With Canales, I think he's trying, it's like a boxing match, trying to just throw a couple haymakers and just see what lands right now. And I think in this case, what worked for this team, and this is just my observation, the Dallas game comes to mind, the Miami game comes to mind, Green Bay. You talk about a great win on the road for fans that are ready to, look off the ledge. Please don't, because this team has done some good things this year, and they still can. The common thread was Rico Dowdle, and I don't want to make too much of it. The offensive line deserves credit, but I just think he brings a different element to this game, and I think when it comes to Dave and his play designs and his structure, the passing game was not as crisp this time around. I think you got to give Frisco a lot of credit. Robert Saleh schemed some things up pressure-wise, and it goes to show you can't always look at all these numbers we look at all week and say, well, that's where you hit them. Sometimes it's about people, not numbers.
All right, John, it just like big picture, it just seemed like a team that wasn't ready for the stage. It made me question whether this current iteration of the franchise will be ready for the stage. What did you think of just the way they kind of came out in this game, a gotta-have-it game to own first place, first prime time game in 2 seasons, and just to look that out of sorts?
Yeah. Let me carve this in 2 halves here. The first half of this pie is going to be the side I agree with that on, that you cannot have those type of self-inflicted mistakes in a primetime game or any game, but especially a playoff environment game on the road where the game is never really out of hand. And when you do sort of the rough math on what happened, a Bryce Young interception that I'm sorry, I've seen all the film I can see for 5-6 years on this team. That's the worst one he's thrown that I've ever seen. You can't do that. The coach didn't put him in a great position there, but he gave him a run option. Then you talk about things like Leggett. His foot goes out of bounds. That's the second time this year that's happened. They throw a flag on that. The catch is incomplete. You talk about the fact that there was a fumble on the ground, and they had it, and that squirts away. The positive is this. They were never truly out of this game despite all of that. And you look at what J.C. Horn was able to do, Mike Jackson, and they're getting no pressure. They've had no quarterback hits basically in 2 weeks, 0 sacks in a quarter and a half, I think it is. 2 quarters and a half, 10 quarters. 2 games and a half, 10 quarters. Long night. But you get the point here.
Yeah.
10 quarters since they've really done anything to hit the quarterback or sack the quarterback, but they're still holding up because they're stopping the run, they're tackling well, and now they're getting takeaways. So on one hand, I'm with you. They weren't prepared. They looked sloppy. Every phase of the game looked out of sorts at a certain point, but they still almost had a chance to win. So I think that's part of the message too. Now this opponent coming up, I'm sure we'll talk about them. I truly feel like they may not lose another game this year, but we'll get into it.
All right. Is the Bryce Young that we're going to be looking at the rest of the year the one we saw in Atlanta or the one we saw in San Francisco? I'm going to pose that to John Ellis when Panthers on the Plus returns. Welcome back to Panthers on the Plus, talking about Carolina's primetime letdown at San Francisco on Monday Night Football. Here with John Ellis from Fox Sports Upstate and 99.7, the Fox Panthers pregame. You can hear him Sunday morning ahead of the Carolina-LA Rams matchup. John, we've got to talk about Bryce Young. It's a wait-and-see year as a possible extension or more likely option year looms. Listen, I mean, and Dan Morgan's not running to that pen after the Atlanta game to sign him. Is he running to the trash can to throw a drafted contract away after what he sees from him in San Francisco now with 5 games left on the season?
Nick, boy, that is the big question with this whole organization right now, and I think we can pretend like it doesn't exist, and I'm certainly one of those that feel like let's not hot take this one to death, but we're getting a little long in the tooth here. We got 50-year option discussions coming up, and I'm not so certain that's going to happen. And here's the thing with Bryce Young. My goodness, he has shown some flashes. The Atlanta game was outstanding. He should get credit, and it shouldn't be diminished that he always just wins in Atlanta. Now, you go to Green Bay, and he's banged up in that game. He's operating at a high level late without anything to do with the passing game in terms of audibles, checks. But let's be honest, that's all sounding great and cute and technical. You got to stop throwing for 128 yards, 148 yards, 165 yards. I don't want to sound like a meathead here, but we need some 200-yard games from him. Some fundamentally consistent games. The thing with Bryce early in the season, we struggled again out of the gate when you're talking about Jacksonville. Slamming the tablet, getting frustrated. And then week 2, he fumbles on the first play of the game, basically. Now, they almost come back and win. I think there's value in that second half. But throughout this season, it's been less about him and more about Rico, the running game, developing Tet, and the defense stopping the run with special teams being great. I don't want to get away from that. I was talking to Billy Marshall about this, and I said, you build this team to be quarterback proof. I think that's what Dan Morgan's trying to do. He played for a team that was very much that way, and Jake Delhomme walked into a good roster and made it even better. I think that's what they're trying to do with Bryce here. Take it a little bit off his shoulders, I would hope they would, and not make it all about him. Dave had talked about that when he took this job. We don't want Bryce to feel like it's all on him, and I think the roster construction has been great. Bryce has to do his part now. He needs to be a number 1 overall pick, level player that elevates others. That Atlanta game is a little bit extreme, but something in between what we see on a week-to-week basis and that is the sweet spot.
All right, on the positive side, John, and with as many guys as they had to mix and match in there, how impressed are you with Ejiro Evero's performance with this defense this year, especially on Monday Night Football?
I'm impressed on many levels, and A.C. Carter, Jonathan Cooley, a lot of people on that staff deserve a ton of credit. That secondary, one of the great things of watching that film last night, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it. They were swarming. It reminded me so much when Wilkes took over for Rule. They went to Seattle. They picked up Geno Smith. They're doing things in the secondary right now that just, you can see the confidence in this group. Obviously, we have news about Trevon Merrick. Horn may be out with a concussion. Long term, though, what a great core they have. And Evero, he's been under fire. If you listen to what fans have to say about this guy, he was the reason they gave up that many yards last year. Oh, it's the quarter structure. He's one of the Fangio bros. It's time to go get somebody like Rex Ryan who's going to blitz nonstop. I don't know, man. I think he is a brilliant head coach, or he was a brilliant defensive coordinator, can be a brilliant head coach. He's a great defensive mind with some great influences, and I think this is a great story, among others, that he has stayed the course with his system. They protect, like Greg Olsen said in that game, they protect 6 points, fly downhill and do their thing without blitzing too many, and they're getting it done right now. It's impressive.
John, as as pathetic as the passing attack was, as embarrassing as parts of the game were in front of the national stage, and Panthers kind of were the butt of the joke a few times from the broadcast booth and elsewhere, and I'm sure on the Manning cast. 6 wins, 500 the week of Thanksgiving, half a game out of the division. I mean, do you see progress? Do you see sustainable progress? But, of course, a lot of that hinges on the conversation we just had about who the quarterback might be.
Yeah, I do see sustainable progress. I do. Look, that's a San Francisco team that people forget is, a 7 or 8 win team right now. They know how to win in winning time. They've been there. Kyle Shanahan is a great coach. Robert Saleh is a great hire. They're doing more with less on defense than any team in the league right now. So that loss, in a way, was embarrassing for many reasons outside of football, including a little action at the end of that game. But I think this season at 6-6, the timing is what I think gets people a little bit peeved. You start to feel like, okay, Tampa's coming back. We're coming on. Don't lose to the Saints at home, and then don't go to San Francisco and play like that. But 6-6 is what it is, and I think the biggest looming question, let's take, for instance, my 15-year-old son, Andrew. The biggest looming question he has is, Dad, this feels great. I've never felt this way. It's a playoff race, but I'm worried about Bryce. I'm like, you're every fan right now. It's sort of an empty feeling in a way because the quarterback regresses and then he shows out and then he regresses. If he can stabilize this thing, the fans will feel better. But I'm going to tell you something, Nick. I've been following this team since 1995. Few are the opportunities to get into Thanksgiving week and have a battle on your hands down the stretch for a division title. It's a great time to be a Panthers fan relative to where we've been recently. So I'll take it.
All right, John, let's play this out as an exercise when it comes to Bryce Young and the potential option year. Let's just presume that he is as uneven as he has been this season for the next 5 games. Let's, not assume he's going to go on a tear like he did last year, although that's certainly possible as we saw. But if Bryce Young continues this unevenness, has maybe one more 200-yard game, maybe one more kind of flash moment, what do you think Dan Morgan might do?
That is a wonderful question that requires a lot of thought.
For Dan Morgan?
For Dan Morgan, luckily not for me. I get to be the fatty in the background looking at all these prospects and saying, oh, no, Billy, oh, Nick, we're doing this again. I think that's the fear I have for this organization, is you have to go through that whole thing all over again. I spoke to somebody within the league this week that's been scouting for a long